We have lots of information to chat about and to review and to discuss and to role play. A couple of things will happen throughout the workshop if I'm really doing my job well, and Gail as well. And that is that we will be sharing information with you, and something fun is going to happen to you. You will have the opportunity to hear information. And when we talk about parenting, there's a lot of what we talk about is our childhood. There's no escaping all of that, because what happens in the process of growing up is we're not immune from all the disasters and catastrophes, and there's all the excitement and all the wonderful memories. And so part of what the nurturing program is, it's a very strong philosophy. So this morning, thought we would review what the philosophy of the program is and then get into programmatic strategies and all for the rest of the time. But if I'm doing my job well, and if you're up for hearing what's being said, what will happen is the old vertical nod is going to happen to you. As you're sitting there and I'm sharing things and I'll see your head nodding and you'll say, I'm one with you, brother. That's it. I can identify with that. That's me right there. You're talking about me right here, right here. I believe that to be true to my soul, brother. That's it. All right. So that's good. So just for the moment over here, when you're vertically head nodding, just take a minute, just maybe even less, just stop just for a second and write down what it is that you're agreeing with. Because you're probably tapping into maybe some conscious views, maybe things that you know but you didn't know, but now you know, and they seem to be resonating with you. And essentially I think what that means is you've experienced that. Or you'd like to experience it. So something is congruent, so we're connecting. All right. But you know, for every vertical head nod, there could be the old horizontal nod saying, I'm not with you there, brother. No way, Bavlik. No way. Don't know where you're coming from. No way. Nope, can't buy that. I don't believe that, not for a minute. So, which is absolutely perfectly fine. So, but just stop for just a second and then jot down, what are you disagreeing with? What is it that's being presented up here that you can't be congruent with, or that's challenging? Because what we're going to be talking about is you, me, for the most part, via them, all right? So we're going to try to understand them, but the best way to understand them is to understand us. So we're going to talk about what we believe and what parenting is. And so I'm going to be sharing lots of information over here. And I hope it becomes a really cool introspective time for you as well. It's a different kind of program. It's not the kind that you open up and start teaching skills. Here, try this and try that and try this and try that. We're going to have some rhyme and reason for doing all this stuff. And so think of it like a big mosaic, lots of little pieces, but it makes a wonderful picture. And nurturing is by far and away the most powerful force on earth. So we're going to talk about what that means. But I'll give you a heads up, what nurturing is nonviolence. No violence of any sort, for any reason, at any time, under any circumstance. No purposeful violence. Now there's something else that can be said about protecting your children from attacks and various things like that. No, I'm talking about just right out hurting children for some reason. We're in a unique time, well, first time in history, that we are working towards equal rights for children. Pretty sweet. We want children to have the same rights as enemy combatants have, as prisoners, as women, as animals, as men. We have laws that protect every form of life, even the most endangered, with the exception of one, and that is children under the age of 18, or 16 in some instances. So here's what we're doing, revolutionaries. We're part of a revolution here. And the first time in the history of humankind, we're saying children should be treated with the same rights as a common cur, as the dog, which started back in the late 1800s with child protection first started. Story about Mary Ellen Connolly, who was in the community of New York back in the late 1800s. A report was made to American Humane Association, the Anti-Cruelty Society, ASPCA, Prevention for Cruelty Towards Animals. And the worker went in, the ASPCA worker went into the house and found indeed an emaciated dog. And took the dog, removed the dog, but notice also an emaciated child. But she had no power to remove the child. She was working for American Humane. However, went back to court and reported that there was a child in the room who was being maltreated to the same degree and neglected to the same degree as the dog. And the judge ruled, interesting, fascinating ruling, said, well, human beings are animals, and we're all a member of the animal kingdom. And so the young girl, Mary Ellen Connolly was her name, deserves to be treated the same as the common cur. And so with that, the Anti-Cruelty Society for the Protection of Children, ASPCA, ASPCC, Protection of Children, all of a sudden, there you go. And so American Humane is 100 with some change, 150-ish years or so. Actually, they're even older than that. They're close to 200 as an organization. And they have two branches, the prevention of cruelty to children and the prevention of cruelty to animals. And so welcome to the modern day version of child protection, based on how dogs are treated, all right? And so children are deserving the same respect or the same treatment as dogs. Pretty interesting, isn't it? Well, it's taken us close to 150 years, 2007. Here we are, trying to figure this out a little bit more. So what does that mean? What does it mean? Michael Vick and his group were charged with all kinds of cruelty to animals, and people were so upset, and the Virginia Senator Byrd was abominable, abominable, this should never happen, this is abominable. I want somebody at that podium, this is abominable, children should never be hurt, this is abominable. But they haven't gotten there yet. But at least we've gotten up to dogs, which is good. Women, that's good. A while ago you couldn't even vote, abominable. And so now you can vote, that's good. And so now there was rulings back in England where a man could strike a child or strike a woman. The rule of thumb with a stick equal to circumference of the thumb. Abominable. Yes. So now we're up to child abuse. Abominable? Well, let's find that out. So throughout the workshop, we're going to be talking about abominable and what also is acceptable. And you can't help but not pass it through you. This is what child abuse is. And this is what nurturing is. So when we chat about how to raise kids, in many ways, it's a reflection on how you were raised. And this business over here is, no, I don't believe that because it's not true for me. Or yes, I believe that because it's true for me. So it's a nice, it's a good workshop. It's a fun one. I think you'll enjoy it. So we'll learn something about you and me along the way, and we'll learn something about them. The good book says, treat others as yourself, because we are our referrals. We are our caseload. So here's a clue. Know you, know them. Avoid you, avoid them. Socrates once said, a life unexamined is a life not worth living. It's a little harsh. But I suspect what he was saying is that when you examine yourself, the life of examination, what gives you? Well, it provides you with insights now, doesn't it? So, and with insights, what do you suppose happens? You have choices, this or that. And with choices come changes, if you choose to. And with changes come liberation. So now you're free from things that held you captive. Childhood should not be an incarcerating experience, but my friends, a lot of us are held, and a lot of our colleagues are incarcerated in childhood. So we're going to see if we can liberate people out of the dungeons of child abuse and neglect. Wow, Babylek, that's a nice speech.